done it, but I'd probably be doing too much.
We're almost there, boys. We're like 6 weeks out.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Tanya, I think there's going to be some surprise.
Are you on right now? Is that what's going on?
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
We are live. Waiting for a few folk to hop in.
There it is. YouTube.
Waiting for a few folk to hop in.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very excited to see North Texas and UTSA take on Conference USA along with Florida Atlantic. I think that those three teams are going to have a hell of a year.
I agree with you.
I think North Texas is going to kind of they fell up short for the CUSA championship, and I think they're going to follow through this year. I'm going to talk about that majority of the show.
Sounds good.
Charlotte. Can't forget Charlotte.
And not forget Charlotte.
Jeff, I almost paid for a whole new AC unit last week.
Oh, welcome to the club, bud.
Well, apparently you didn't have the right guy check out your stuff, because I had the first guy come and he said, I need a new unit. Had a second guy come, my original company, changed the capacitor out. It's fine. Still got another 10 years on it.
Nice.
Went from $6,900 to $200. I'm not talking shit to you. I know that you're supposed to, but like you, like
cool,
the
scumbags,
scumbags that this world has to try to make $1 off of me. It's just,
I know. Well, you're Mr. Moneybags. You got it all. So,
yeah. I mean, I had the cash in my pocket, but I didn't want to give it to him.
I just had to. Sometime this week, I have to get the engine replaced on my zero turn.
That's
not fun.
Yeah, it's not great, but it's not too bad.
You don't get a warranty on those things?
I bought it used, the mower. I get a warranty on this new one, on this new engine.
Talk about money bags. I don't have a property big enough for a zero turn. I'm pushing.
Get you one.
No.
Go get
They're
you
out
one.
there on that Tennessee land.
I know.
They're pretty much
Not
like
us.
Tennessee is kind of like the Montana of the South, like Yellowstone. They got like all that land and cattle.
The
and
Montana of the South.
Dave,
Plenty of cowboys.
Murph, remember when that horse got out of your pen there and I had to wrangle him and I was like, Murph, I don't know what to do here.
Than a Florida boy that's used to the beaches trying to wrangle a stallion.
Trying to put a horse back in the pen. It's 40 degrees, raining. I don't own, rain boots or anything like that. So I'm out there probably in some Jordans getting those ruined.
I remember. You got him up.
I got him in there.
You led him the way.
I got him in there. He's, horses, they're pack animals. You got to show them who's alpha.
Yeah,
right?
No doubt.
Anyway.
Well, ready to get this thing cranked up?
Let's get the show on the road. Jeff Murphy, whenever you're ready, you give me the go-ahead. Turn the red light on. We'll go on the air. Let's do it.
All right.
Welcome into the #1 Group of 5 football podcast in the world. Our goal is to be the voice for the Group of 5 football programs, bring the hype and excitement to their communities. We're trying to do what the mainstream sports media refuses to do. We need your help to do that. We need you to follow us on all the social media platforms at Group of 5 Guys. Go to YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your best podcast. Give us a 5-star rating and review. Leave a comment, subscribe, tell your family and friends all about us. Or you can go to group5guys.com, get you some Group of 5 Guys swag. Ladies and gentlemen, we made it. Conference USA preview tonight. We got a couple episodes, and then we got football. Enjoy the show. Have you had it from somebody born and raised in Lafayette, Louisiana, at a tailgate? Doubt it.
Lee Corso is a guy who had a retirement party 10 years ago, and yet he still won't leave the office.
Projected getting drafted between the first and third round. Like, that's incredible.
That's impressive.
The wide receivers are absolutely stacked for the Group of 5.
I said Michael Pratt has got to show up and play And boy, did he. 394 yards, 4 touchdowns, 48 rushing yards on the ground, and another touchdown.
You know, I really appreciate you do for the Group of 5 programs, and I think it's great. I think we should get more of this. But you guys are on the forefront of this, and
so I'm thankful for this. I'm glad that you're talking about the Group of 5 because I think they get overlooked.
But it's a ton of fun to watch a guy go to the NFL from a Nevada or a Colorado State or a Middle Tennessee or an App State, you know, and fans follow that kid.
I appreciate what you guys do, truthfully. Covering the Group of 5. I mean, y'all said it earlier, but the Sun Belt to me is college football.
Guys, it's not really Group of 5 related, but unfortunately, we've got to talk about this Northwestern business. I think we've all got some valuable experience being in a locker room, being around a program a little bit. I think we can speak to this thing. And so for those of you that don't know, Pat Fitzgerald fired at Northwestern, alleged hazing, alleged sexualized hazing. Little bit of a question mark with the fact that they did a 6-month investigation and then suspended him for 2 weeks. And then, in my opinion, got some media backlash and decided to pull the plug and fire the guy. I have some opinions on this. Now, let me preface everything by saying none of us were there. We do not know. Neither does anybody else in any media outlet. But I want to start off by saying, if this was happening in this locker room, again, as far as we know, only one player, former player, had said anything about it. It's pretty bad. Some pretty bad allegations. If the coach knew about it, pretty bad allegations. Now, I get it. He's the head of the ship, captain of the ship. But I think people are overestimating, how often the head coach is in the locker room or, having his eyes on this stuff. So I just want to get your guys' thoughts. I mean, we all played. As far as I know, wasn't anything close to that happening at Middle Tennessee. But I want to go to Swag. I mean, we talked a little bit before the show. So what's your initial reaction on this story at Northwestern?
Ah, man, I'm really kind of scared to comment on it because I don't want to get, woke come after me.
They're going to be after you for that T-shirt you got on.
Yeah, for real. I don't know. There's 3 sides to every story. I hate it for him because I think he might be the best coach Northwestern's ever going to get. And he's done a phenomenal job. It's like you said, coaches aren't in the locker rooms, and without naming schools or coaches, I mean, I've been in part of programs where, there's a little bit of, I don't want to say hazing, but it's just, kind of a welcome to the big leagues, but nothing to what is being portrayed at Northwestern. Somebody's got to fall on the grenade, and unfortunately, a lot of times it is the head coach, and that's unfortunate. I don't really. I got to do more research on it, Sprouse, to be honest with you, to comment too much. I do think that this day and age, people are the smallest thing is going to get you fired. The smallest detail is going to have social media just crawling on you like leeches. So you got to be very careful. And I don't even know how the thing got leaked, honestly, Sprouse. You can comment on it. I don't know the full detail of the story. I will say, to make more sense, I didn't do my research. I thought that they were saying that he was like a drill sergeant too hard on the players, and the players were complaining about it, saying they were getting abused at practice. That's what I thought was going on. And then you kind of clarified that there was more about inside the locker room. So I can't comment too much from that aspect of it.
Well, and I mean, again, like, I don't know, but I do know that we have a little bit of knowledge of disgruntled players or disgruntled coaches that on the way out try to either make up or more than likely exaggerate a story. And that's what a current player, I think, actually came out and said, that this kid told him that he was going to exaggerate the story because his main goal was to get Fitzgerald fired. So now who knows if that's true, but we know we had some disgruntled players that, whatever, they didn't play as much as they thought they should have played. Maybe they thought that the coach didn't do a good enough job, helping them in a transfer portal. Maybe they think that they should have made it to the NFL, but the coach said bad stuff about them. So then they find a news person willing to write the story, and something like this comes out. So that's, to be honest, that's my initial thought is, man, that guy's been there for 20 something years, and one guy just now has this story and nobody else seems to, I don't know.
Sprouse, if you are that caliber person to where you're so greedy or selfish that you're going to blame somebody else for your own defeats or faults in life, that's in the definition of scumbag is what you are.
No doubt.
And the people that we've heard about in the past, and I mean, not to go into much detail, but we were part of a internal investigation at one point, and it's just scumbag is what you are when you're trying to take your failures and pass it on or blame it to somebody else. Look in the mirror, bro. Look in the mirror.
Yeah, and we, like you said, nobody knows if these are true or not, but I find it interesting that when you make an allegation like this, you ask to remain anonymous. Yep. Maybe you don't want to be embarrassed. You don't want to admit that maybe somehow, I get that, but this is a pretty hefty allegation, and I feel like you should come out and be the forefront of it. But I don't know. It's interesting.
And for the record, by the way, I was not calling the Northwestern kid a scumbag. I'm talking about the people that we experienced in the past.
I read you.
Happened Northwestern, I can't comment on because I wasn't there.
Yeah.
So I have no idea.
Well, it's to the degree of, some of the. It reminds me of the Matt Ariza thing, right? Like a false accusation, and again, we don't know if this is false, but it's like, man, you're trying to. They fired Fitzgerald. I think they're going to be able to fire him with cause, so they're not going to pay his buyout or the end of his contract. I mean, granted, I'm sure he's done just fine financially, but man, that's a lot of money. That's the guy's life. And next thing you know, he's going to be an analyst down in Tuscaloosa, and he'll be a head coach in a couple of years. And he might be in a better situation than Northwestern. So we'll see. Mark this moment down. 10 years from now, Fitzgerald's coaching at, Arkansas or something, and Northwestern is still bottom of the barrel in the Big Ten. But anyway, we got to get to Conference USA, Jeff Murphy. So I know we got a couple of voicemails I would love to hear. I know we got Liberty. Hey, welcome to the Group of Five. Liberty, Sam Houston, Jacksonville State, New Mexico State. We're glad to have you. Talk about you a little bit tonight. But, Jeff, let's get to those voicemails.
Yeah, absolutely. We had 2 callers call in. This first one is a new caller, and this was about a week and a half ago when we were kind of in our off period, but definitely still wanted to play it. Always appreciate the calls. Call us with your hottest take, whatever you got on your mind. Let us know if we're wrong, whatever it is. We want to hear from you. More of you is better and less of us. So 615-900-4286. Give us a call. So this is a new fan. He's a UTSA fan. He didn't leave his name, so I can't shout out the name or the Twitter handle, but appreciate the call, and let's get to it.
UTSA. What's up, guys? New listener here. I've been listening the last few months and just absolutely love it. 2012 grad out of UTSA, and I've absolutely fallen in love with G5 football over the last 3 years. And y'all for sure put out the best content when it comes to G5. I just finished rewatching UTSA highlights for the 20th time. I cannot wait for the start of the season. And, 8 Saturdays away, boys. 8 Saturdays away. I put down a few Lonies. I don't know if you guys drank any Lone Stars when you are down in San Antonio, but next time you are down here, you got to drink some Lone Stars because that's what we do in Central Texas. But I appreciate you guys showing my Roadrunners some love on the best offensive players and best defensive players in G5, and love the content, and let's go. I'm ready to whoop some Houston ass week 1. Keep putting out the great content, and let's go UTSA.
Appreciate it, man.
I mean, it's a good team to be a fan of to
100%.
Start falling in love with Group of Five football. That's for sure.
Yeah, and going into a new conference this year, and a couple episodes away, we'll do our American Conference preview. So be in tune for that. But I appreciate the call, and I mean, did we have a Lone Star while we were down there, boys? I don't remember having one of those.
To be honest with you, I remember finding Yingling flights, and in honor of Steeple_PC, we had a bunch of those at the game.
Did.
I don't know. We shotgunned a few
in the parking
with,
lot.
but I don't know what those. I don't remember. Not because of it being too much. I don't really remember what it was. Probably Miller. It's probably.
Yeah.
I think it was just a general light beer. But
There you
I
go.
don't remember having any
Sparky's
Lone
got one.
Stars.
Yeah, I don't either. I think I've had one before when I was down there for a wedding, but no, UTSA was a great atmosphere, great time at the Alamo Dome, and look forward to hopefully getting back down there again at some point. So
Absolutely. And like you said, Murph, we'll talk more about UTSA when we get to the AAC preview. But I mean, I think maybe a majority of us have this same opinion, but they're one of, if not the team to beat in the American this year. I mean, again, we'll go into more details when we do the American preview show, but really excited to watch them this season. Like for sure.
But you know what bothers me? I mean, my last thing was because I just now realized, because I'm a slacker. They're playing Tennessee like week 2 or 3.
2 or 3.
And then you watch the SEC network and stuff. They're talking about big games from Tennessee. Well, no one's talking about the UTSA going there. And I mean, like, and Frank Harris, exactly, good. And Frank Harris is going to come in there. Granted, I do think the guy chokes in big games sometimes. Sorry. If he balls out, man, there's like it's gonna be a high scoring affair, and it's gonna be those games that's gonna demoralize Tennessee. And like Sprouse said in a text message, UTSA is not gonna be in talks of, hey, let's put them in the New Year's Bowl, in a whatever, like December 31st or New Year's Day. Yeah. No one's talking about it. That's a big game. Big game. Circle that one.
Here's a couple. Another little addition. I just pulled up Tennessee's schedule. So they play UTSA right in between. They go at Florida, and then after they got South Carolina coming into Tennessee, who of course smacked that ass last year. So not that UTSA needs it to be a sleeper game, but man, that would make
they're gonna worry about Spencer Rattler, and Frank Harris is gonna come.
That's right.
And just whip that ass.
That's exactly
right. I really could see that game. I mean, I say it every year, but and I hope it doesn't happen to where UTSA loses by 28 points. But I can just see Frank Harris going there and having his like NFL moment. And then Jeff Murphy said, "I told you, swag." I'm like, dude, Frank Harris is the man. But if he goes in there and chokes, I'm over it.
One more. It'll be a high scoring game, that's for sure.
It will be a high scoring game for sure.
I know we'll talk about it again probably in the American episode, but they also UTSA the week before plays on a Friday, so an extra little day of prep too.
Yep. Absolutely.
Let's get to the next call. Great call.
Yeah, appreciate the call. And our last caller that called in is our boy Zach. ZG, go Flames, big Liberty fan. So he's fired up. Liberty's in Conference USA.
What's up, guys? Zach Green at ZG Go Flames on Twitter here. It's good to be back calling in. I know it's been a while. It's also been a while since I've been active on Twitter, so it's good to be back there as well. I am just calling to talk about Liberty a little bit and commemorate the fact that Liberty is now officially a member of the Group of Five, which means I am now officially a lowercase g Group of Five guy. You guys are the real ones. You're the real capital G Group of Five guys, but now I'm officially a lowercase g Group of Five guy. And honestly, it's good to be here. It's a little bit bittersweet because we had to lose a lot of good opponents due to having to get the whole conference slate lined up, and then also some of those opponents just wanted to drop off, I'm sure, because Liberty's no longer a given win. But it's good to be here, good to be welcomed in by some other teams, and good to start off our Group of Five journey in Conference USA. I'm going to predict Western Kentucky to win it because they've been stable as one of the best teams in the conference for some time now, and Liberty is going through a lot of changes. We've had a lot of transfers leave. We had a star running back from last year, Day Hunter, transfer out. The backup speedster running back transfer to Cedro Lewis, transfer to Tulane. We've had some guys on the defense transfer, like our highest ever rated recruit, Christian Zachary, transferred to, I believe, Jackson State. Chris Meganson, a starter at corner, transferred to SMU. We had Darrell Johnson go to the draft on defensive line. So we've had a lot of people leave, but we've also got a lot of people that have come in. Quentin Cooley, running back from Wake Forest, has come in. Running back James Jointer from Arkansas has joined us. quarterback Trey Lowe from Southern Mississippi transferred in. I don't think he's going to play a lot. It's looking like that's probably going to go to Jonathan Bennett, who was the lead quarterback for most of the season last year. Who knows with that, though? There's a bit of a carousel, and I think Jonathan JB is going to get it, but we could see something different there. I'm not sure. But we're looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it. Liberty fans are looking forward to it. And I'm going to be disappointed if we're not in that championship game in December. But I do think there's a chance we could fall as low as third or fourth. But we'll be disappointed if we're not at least in the championship game. Definitely think we can win it, but I'm going to go with Western Kentucky on that one. Anyway, guys, looking forward to hearing the show today. Thanks.
Appreciate it, Zach, as always. Always has good takes.
For his opening always sounds just like Zach Branner to me. They both sound alike. But anyway, Liberty, you couldn't have gotten a better replacement coach. Some people would probably call it an upgrade because Chadwell's name was just as hot. So you couldn't have had a better deal. And then you're walking into who everybody thinks is kind of a weak conference. There's only 9 teams in it this year, and 2 of them can't even play for a championship. So it's a interesting conference for sure in this first year with these new teams. But appreciate that call, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anybody that, like Jeff said, 615-900-4286. Keep the calls coming. We're doing Maction next week, and then I believe we're going Mountain West, and then American, and then Sun Belt, and then it's going to be week 0. So you guys keep the calls coming in with your predictions, your hottest takes. Tell us where we screw up tonight, and then going forward on that. Before we really get into the conference, Prize Picks. Download the app. Use our code GOFG. They'll match your first-time deposit up to $100. It's Tuesday, which they have Taco Tuesday going right now. So you normally get like half of, one player's total. I think it was strikeouts. They had somebody at 3.5 total strikeouts tonight versus his standard was 6.5 or 7. So it's always good to play on Tuesdays, Fridays. They do a bunch of deals. Use our code GOFG. Conference USA. We'll talk about last year's results. Of course, we were at the game. UTSA beat North Texas pretty handily. Half the teams have left. Onto the American. A couple new teams coming in. Liberty, Sam Houston, Jacksonville State, New Mexico State. It's a weird conference. You got the OGs of the conference, Western Kentucky, Middle Tennessee, La Tech, FIU, UTEP. So we'll see if any of those, any of the new guys can make a move, or any of some of the classic Conference USA teams will stay on top. But I'm going to go in. I'm going to start first. Jeff Murphy, biggest question mark going into 2023 for Conference USA. What is it?
This might surprise you guys a little bit. I think Jamie Chadwell's the biggest question mark going into Conference USA. I really do. I think him going to Liberty, it's the first year. I think the expectations are incredibly high, especially coming off of Hugh Freeze being there. And honestly, my biggest question, and I'm not saying that it's not going to happen, how much of his success at Coastal was tied to Grayson McCall? Because he's going into a situation where he's got a quarterback battle right now, carousel. He might have a good idea of who the starter is, but really the guys that played last year for Liberty, none of them really set themselves apart from either one of them. So it's going to be interesting to see how that battle plays out in camp. But I think the biggest storyline is Liberty coming in, and can Jamie Chadwell replicate some of what he did with high expectations from Coastal Carolina?
Swag.
I just think it's funny hearing that from a Tom Brady guy.
Amen.
Who thinks that just coaching doesn't exist? That's just going to be. Just...
Why my point's the same. I thought the Patriots' success was heavily tied to Tom Brady, and I think Chadwell's success at Coastal was heavily tied to Grayson McCall.
I'm saying it's just funny. Yeah. It's like you don't think coaching exists. You think
no, that's not true. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that Chadwell was very sought after.
You think it's more quarterback than it is coach? Is that what you're saying?
That's what I heard.
I think you have to have a happy, a good marriage between the two. And I think Grayson McCall is really, really good. And I don't think that there's a Grayson McCall at Liberty currently right now.
To Murph's point,
Belichick did it.
Jamie Chadwell, his first season as head coach at Coastal Carolina in 2019, he went 5-7, and Grayson McCall threw 4 passes that year because it was his freshman year. And then the very next year, McCall's the starter, and then that's when the success at Coastal Carolina starts.
Well, and Liberty's coming off, they're 3-4 years removed from Malik Willis and the double-digit win team. They were 8-5 the past couple of years, so it's not like this is a team that's just been running through everybody. Now, they do have some really good wins, a lot of investment in football with Liberty. It may be a year or two for Chadwell, but I think the average person, and maybe some of us, I mean, coming in, you look at Liberty and you think, okay, Western Kentucky and Liberty, and then a big drop off, and I
don't think
not quite there, but we'll get into more of that later. Swag, what's your biggest question mark going into this season?
Well, I don't want to repeat Jeff. Mine was a kind of more of a positive way. Mine was more saying question mark is Jamie Chadwell going to have the same type of season he had at Coastal in the past? But also another question mark for me is going to be looking at FIU. You say, so last year was kind of a rebuilding year. It was his first season coming into FIU. Can FIU get over that hump? Can we get, I mean, what was their win total last year? I think it was four wins. Can they get over 6 wins this year? We hear about how positive the coach is over there, the team camaraderie. I want to see FIU actually start getting some wins. So I'm really looking at them this year. And I'll be honest with you, as I did my scheduling for each team, I still have them on the losing season, but I would love to see the FIU Panthers try to get back on top and start winning some ball games.
That's of course, you guys know I'm always trying to keep it positive for the Florida schools. But let me I'll give you this stat. So McIntyre, I love the guy. I'm rooting hard for the guy. So he took over San Jose State, who was coming off a 1-11 season. They went 1-11 in his first year. By his third year, San Jose State went 11-2. Then he goes to Colorado, who we know is a, pretty bottom feeder program. Okay, they went 1-11 in his first year. In his fourth year, they go 10-4 and win the Pac-12 South. So it's only the second year at FIU. But if you guys remember, they were 4-4 at the at the eight game point of that season. Now, granted, it was like 2 FCS wins, and then they're a play away from beating Middle in week 11 or 12.
That game away.
So they're a 3 to 5 play season away from winning 6 games and potentially making a bowl game. So I don't think we're going to see 11-2 by any means at FIU, but I think we could see a bowl team this year down in Miami, and hopefully they get some of the same student support that they got, at the beginning of last year. Hopefully some of that momentum sticks. Tip, what about you? Biggest question mark 2023 Conference USA?
So I have a couple of question marks, and the first one's probably the most obvious, which is how are these 2 FCS teams gonna how well they're gonna play coming to Conference USA? You got Jacksonville State that has a very run heavy offense. You have Sam Houston that has a great defense with a defensive minded head coach. How is that gonna translate? How is that gonna look against this Conference USA schedule? The second question mark I have is there any other team besides Western Kentucky that is going to potentially win the conference? And is that a lot of pressure? Western Kentucky, they have to know, obviously, they're the favorite to win the conference this year. Is that going to be too much pressure for them, or do they just have so much talent coming back that they're just going to roll through the schedule and win make it to the championship and win the conference like most people believe that they will? But can the transfer portal successfully help one of these other teams? Maybe it's Liberty, maybe it's Louisiana Tech, maybe it's MTSU, maybe UTEP. I don't know. But can one of these other teams make it to go to the conference championship and have a opportunity to play Western Kentucky if they make it to the championship. And can they beat them? I mean, can they find a way to stop that offense at Western Kentucky?
Yeah, that's no. Would be my answer to that question. I've got. I mean, Western. I think I told you guys before the show. I think it's Western's world, and who's going to be the second? I think you got Western, and then for me, 3, maybe 4 others. You know, that could make a little run at it, but it's going to be hard. It's just going to be hard to beat Western. They're so good offensively. I mean, it's a record-breaking offense. They've been good for, through now multiple quarterbacks, multiple coordinators. So I don't see what you do against that. Do you have something on that, Swag?
On Western Kentucky, not really. I'll get into my predictions and all that stuff later. No, my thing for Jacksonville State and Sam Houston, last year James Madison came in and they took the Group of 5 by storm. And originally I started thinking, okay, well, can that happen again this year? Can we have 2 teams or one of the 2 teams come in here and, have a stellar season but can't go to a championship game due to just entering from the FCS? I don't think so, because I was thinking there's a trend to it. When App State came into the Group of 5, they killed it, right? And then you had James Madison come in. They killed it. I'm going to kind of just say James Madison, Jacksonville State, Sam Houston, they're kind of all coming in at the same time. I'm still going to give James Madison on that pedestal that they're a little over Jacksonville State and Sam Houston. If this was been 2015, 2016, totally different ball game, because Jacksonville State was that dog back then. And I have a little bias. My head coach in high school coached there for like 10 years. Now he's over at Clemson. So they've lost a lot in the past couple of years. They had a lot of changes. They've lost a lot of players. I think this is going to be a team to look out for in the future. This is Jacksonville State, that is. But in regards to a team coming in from the FCS and making a impact like James Madison, winning, 8+ games, I don't think that's going to happen from either one, Sam Houston or Jacksonville State. I think it's actually going to be a struggle to get past 4 wins for both these teams. Just my opinion.
I think between both of those teams, though, Jacksonville State has the best opportunity to do it this year if one of those teams is going to do it. You're talking about they have a great run heavy offense. They have 4 of their starters returning on the offensive line. They got a lot of their wide receivers and running backs returning as well. They have the experienced players on offense, and they've played in this offense for a full year now. And they play a super aggressive defense, which, I mean, sometimes half the time it will work, and then sometimes you might get burnt on some. But as well as they run the football, they averaged 5.6 yards per carry last year. That can keep them in a lot of ball games. And it also helps when you have Rich Rodriguez as your head coach, who's had a lot of coaching experience. So I just think out of those 2 teams, if I had to pick one that could make an immediate impact in their first year in Conference USA, I think it's going to be Jacksonville State.
Yeah, Tip, and let me piggyback off of that. Zion Webb, their quarterback, just got approved for his 7th season, so he's eligible to play. He's coming back, and he's the key to that offense. He's a decent thrower. He definitely needs to improve on that. He had too many turnovers last year, but he's a dual threat guy. I mean, you run that zone read type of offense. I mean, they want to run the ball. They'll run the RPOs where they roll them out. They'll fake the run, and they get guys in one-on-one situations. Their biggest thing, like you said, Tip, is that defense. That defense gave up too many points last year, and moving up to another level, I think that defense is going to struggle a little bit. But if you get into shootouts, then you have a chance. Sam Houston on the other side is kind of flipped, where their defense is really, really good. So I think they'll keep them in games, but I think it's just going to be difficult if you got some high-powered offenses in this conference, and I'm not sure if that offense for Sam Houston can keep up with the Western Kentuckys and Middle Tennessees of this conference, Liberty, the really high-powered offenses that we've seen in years past.
At Zion, he's like LeBron James. He's going to stay there and play with his kid here pretty soon. He's going to be thrown to his son. He's going to be thrown to his son here in a couple of years.
Yeah. Before we get on to it, I've got 2 questions. So one, how are the Tuesday and Wednesday games going to affect both fan support? We'll see. And then there's going to be a lot of short weeks and long weeks for these teams. So having that extra day or one less day to prep, will it have any effect? Everybody's dealing with it. So I hadn't looked to see if anybody has any more than the other teams. But interested to see how that goes. And then to me, the biggest question that I think is going to determine at least the second spot in this conference, can Middle's offensive line block anybody? Because this team goes 8-4 last year and beats a pretty good San Diego State team in the bowl game with, I'm not exaggerating.
We were all for
one of
talking.
the worst offensive line performances I've ever seen. I mean, honest to God, it just looked like they were running screens on every play, and they were just running in a.
They had to.
Now they got some transfers, they got some more experience in there, but they're going to have to fix.
They got some size too from those transfers.
They got some size.
They got Devin Hayes from Jackson State, 6'6", 300 pounds.
They got boys from FIU.
Yeah, Julius Pierce from FIU, 6'5", 265. So
yeah, they got some guys.
Definitely, yeah.
I mean, and if they can protect, because they're going to have to too with a new quarterback, and run the ball. If they can protect and run the ball, I know it's a lot, but their defense is going to be very good. So to me, that's the question mark. And if they can do that, they got a chance to at least get to the championship game. But
running back Frank Pisant's coming back, and he had a good year even with a struggling offensive line. So if that offensive line can improve, then I mean you're looking at Pisant having a great year this season.
Well, the
O-line's got a good test for week 1 to get ready for the Conference USA play.
And here's the deal. That's another great question mark, because Alabama ain't. Yeah, they play Missouri week 2. Bama ain't Mizzou. You might sneak in there.
I can see them beat Mizzou.
Yeah. But
that's
exactly right. With all of these schools, you can go play
Rick's
Mizzou.
got a plan. They're going to play one quarter.
Yeah.
And
also
you red shirts be ready to go against Alabama.
and also this is like the first year in 2 decades that people are sort of doubting Alabama. So I just feel like Saban is going to come out there and just open up a can on whoever they play. But you just hope they don't get beat up for that.
You know what? I'm not going to keep joking about this. The last time Middle Tennessee played Alabama had a national championship team, and Middle Tennessee, and I hate saying, hung in with there for 3 quarters. Brent Stockstill was the quarterback, and they played Bama pretty damn good. I mean, I think they lost by like 17 points, maybe 21. But you never know. You never know.
That brings me to my point, Grisham, is Brent Stockstill ain't quarterback this year. It's Nicholas Vadiata, who is very, very good. He's got experience from 2021 when Cunningham went down. He ended up winning some games, got him to the bowl game. They beat Toledo. So he's got some experience. He didn't have much last year. So it's like you got a couple big question marks on offense at, I think, the offensive line. You lose Jalen Lane to the transfer portal. You lose a couple other guys that graduated. They got a couple transfers in. But as of right now, DJ England Chisholm is their main receiver. And he's a smaller guy. He's a burner. He can go and get it. We saw that 99-yard catch he had down at Miami last year. But a lot of question marks at Middle Tennessee right now on the offensive side of the ball. But if they can figure some of those out, their defense might be one of the best they've had in a long time. And that's building off of last year where they were, top 20 in turnovers last year, maybe even higher than that. I can't remember specifically, but the defense is going to be good. Zeke Rankin's back as the kicker. So just if they can figure out the offense, they're going to have a shot to make it to the championship game.
Yeah, and two more things on Middle is we know Stock turnovers and special teams are going to be good there. So, that you can kind of bank, and that's going to win them some games. Fortunately, although front loaded with Bama and Missouri last year, if you remember, their schedule was front loaded where they have UTSA, Western Kentucky, UAB in 3 straight weeks.
Yeah.
Right, and everybody wrote them off, and then they won 4 out of their last 5, and so they don't have that this year. They do have to go to Western and to Liberty, and then they get UTEP at home, which I think is a very, very big game towards the end of the year. But anyway, so we all know Western. We all know Austin Reed, Malachi Corley, probably the best offensive players in the conference. Who else in this conference are you looking at? Jeff, I'll go to you first. Give me some names to watch, putting up big stat numbers.
I'll give you a name to watch. Diego Pavia, quarterback out of New Mexico State. I really like this kid. He split time last year, but towards the end of the season, he pretty much started almost every game. And he's a dual threat guy. He throws the ball really well. He was inconsistent last year. I think it was 53% completion rating. But he had like a 2-to-1 ratio, touchdown to picks. But he also had 6 rushing touchdowns on the ground. And they're getting a lot of pieces back. Jonathan Brady's a big receiver on the outside. If they can get him the ball a little bit more, returning 3 offensive linemen as well. I think he's a big name to keep an eye out for. And I think he's going to be a key, in my opinion, why New Mexico State's going to be a lot better than people think. I think their defense, they got to figure out how to way to stop some guys. But if they can do that or limit teams to closer to 30 points, a little bit under, New Mexico State's going to surprise some people, and it's going to be because of Diego Pavia.
They can play for a conference championship, correct? Because they've been
I believe
FBS.
so, yeah.
I think they can too. I read an article about it earlier, and I agree with Jeff. I think that out of all the teams, I have another team too, but I could see that team just being sneaky, just getting wins. We're like, where did this team come from here? They got 7 wins. They're going to be in the
Liberty
championship
last
game.
year. Big win.
Yeah, big win.
By the way, did y'all see my light go out there?
I did.
Fantastic. What an opening to the season. You know what I mean? Football season's here. Sprouse's light that cost $100 goes out 30 minutes into the episode. Apologize if it got a little bit dark in the room here. But what other players? Tip, what you got? I know you always got, you called it with Bailey Zappi, and I'll never forget it. That you cemented yourself as the guy with that prediction. So, Jeff, I should have had you get that clip for this, but that's all right. Tip, who is going to be the guy of 2023?
Who's the best punter in Conference USA?
Yeah.
Well, I
Well,
don't have the. Well, you see, no. I don't know if I got a guy similar to Bailey Zappi, but I think the Boise State transfer going to Louisiana Tech, Hank Bachmeier, he has an opportunity to play better than he has in recent years. We all saw how he struggled last year at Boise State, but you look at his 2021 stats. He threw for over 3,000 yards and had 20 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. And he's going into an offense with a head coach, Sonny Crumby, who is very offensive-minded, former quarterback, and runs a good offensive scheme. So if he can come in there, and if it kind of the same thing with Bailey Zappi, if it meshes and everything kind of works well and look together, I mean, La Tech could have a good season coming up. And then he's also got a couple of really good running backs. Marquez Crosby and Jarvis Thornton, they both averaged over 5 yards per carry and combined for over 1,300 yards and 12 touchdowns last season. So you bring in Bachmeier, who already has a good running game and has a wide receiver with Smoke Harris coming back. They unfortunately lost Trey Harris. He transferred to Ole Miss, but still have Smoke Harris, still have some wide receivers coming in through the portal. So this offense could be very good this year.
Bachmeier, he just never got over the hump at Boise. I feel like every year it was like Boise's got to get better quarterback play. This is the year he's going to be it, and he never got there. Now, could be system type of deal. Could be just he wasn't comfortable. Could be maybe he was always looking over his shoulder or something at Boise State. A lot of expectations for anybody at Boise State. So maybe he finds a good place. But he's going to have to be better.
Yeah, I got to add to this too. I mean, I feel like a lot of talking heads on social media and honestly in a lot of these magazines, they are putting a lot of pressure on Bachmeier, putting him at the second team all conference over some other guys that I think could have a run, at that second spot. But he's a combination of being hurt a lot and not producing his last few years at Boise. And you go to an offense that, yes, it's got pieces, it's got a great running back, that's a great start. Their O-line did a very poor job at protecting the quarterback last year. And I don't care who you are, if you cannot block up front in the pass game, it doesn't matter who's back there. So it's just going to be interesting to see if they've made any, adjustments. Got a couple guys in the portal to try and help out that offensive line. And then the other thing is, it's a two-sided game, right? Offense and defense. Their defense was rough last year. They gave up 469 yards a game and 38 points. That is a lot to ask your offense to overcome every single game. So they're going to have to get better on both sides of the ball to give Bachmeier even a shot, at being able to produce down there in Louisiana.
And I just kind of want to add to that. So they have 19 total transfers coming in this season. Out of those 19, 13 of those transfers are defensive players. So they are trying to get guys in there to see if they can make an immediate impact.
It's a lot
it
to
could,
mesh.
Yeah. No, you're exactly right. The odds are not in their favor, but it could happen. I mean, those guys could come in and it meshes and it works. And then the defense makes a complete 180. And then you have a good all around team. And also they have La Tech has the #1 recruiting class in Conference USA for this year. So just something to add there.
That'll be the first year in, I think, a decade that FIU has not had the best recruiting class in Conference USA. Yet, somehow they hadn't been able to capitalize on that. Jess, you threw your hands up in the air when he mentioned a running back at La Tech, so go ahead.
No, he took everything I was going to say about La Tech. So literally everything. He took my money, my wallet, everything, took it with it. I'm a huge, Tipton, be scared because I'm a huge fan of La Tech. So bet on them, buddy.
No.
I think La Tech is the team to look out for in the Conference USA this year. They're going to be, I really think, Murph, I understand Sproushaw's opinions on Bachmeier, but the guy threw for almost 7,000 yards while he was at Boise State. And, Coach Crumble, he's the reason why he went to La Tech. He wanted to be in an air raid offense. So I think they're going to air it out. I think a lot of points are going to be scored. And, the running back game, we already spoke about in the other episode how Marquise Crosby, he's going to be an impact player at running back. And then they got the Baylor transfer, as Tipton said. So I'm not going to keep repeating everything. When we go down the line where I think the biggest game is going to be, La Tech's going to be a big game against somebody else is going to determine the conference. But if we're going to talk about another impact player, I'm going to go right back to I'm going to go back to Liberty. I think Quentin Cooley, he'll be an impact player for Liberty because he's going to be in that offense with Jamie Chadwell. I think it's going to be a different kind of offense that Conference USA is not going to be accustomed to. He's going to get a lot of rushing yards. I think he's going to have a lot of touchdowns. He'll be a name that will probably be an all-conference running back, in my opinion.
I like it. I don't want to get there yet. It sounds like La Tech might be your dark horse, but we'll get there. Don't say anything. Don't say anything. Go ahead.
Well, no. We'll get to it. But remember last year when we talked about Conference USA, I was really high on North Texas. I was all about North Texas.
Yeah.
They may or may not be the same feel I have a La Tech coming up. So, and they made the championship game.
They did.
And I know everything about football. Trust me.
Nobody. Go ahead, Jeff.
I was just wanted to shout out real quick in the chat. We had a couple people in there. Zach Green was in there who left the voicemail, and then Vince McNeil commented. And he said New Mexico State hit it out of the ballpark when they hired Coach Kill, and I couldn't agree. He's been successful everywhere he's been, and the continued improvement at New Mexico State. I'm just saying, watch out.
Took him to a bowl game in his first year there, and they beat Bowling Green in the Quick Lane Bowl last year. Fantastic hire.
Yep.
Well, nobody mentioned, and we haven't talked about this team at all, and I think they're going to be quite good. So I'm going to give impact player UTEP quarterback Gavin Hardison. We talked about him a little bit last year. I think that was another guy Swag was actually high on last year. UTEP was weird. Came out the gates hot, upset Boise State, but they ended up going 5-7. Blew a 3-touchdown lead to UTSA late in the year. For UTEP, their schedule, this is one where their schedule is nice. They get Western, La Tech, and Liberty at home. And, again, we're going to get to it later, but they've got a very big game, second to last week of the year on the road that I think will determine the number 2 spot in this conference.
Sprouse, is UTEP the reason why Bachmeier transferred from Boise State?
It's a great question.
Obviously, no, you won't find that article. I'm just saying. UTEP
well, you might. Did he
spank that ass?
Let's take a look.
Bachmeier went back to La Tech. I will be Bach.
Keep it going. What else?
I like that. That might have to be his like
What
call
else
sign
you
for
got?
the season.
Well, all right.
I
So,
will bounce Bach.
you guys both talked about Chadwell, maybe not quite sure on Chadwell at Liberty. Any coaches, it's such a weird conference. Is anybody on the hot seat or anybody you think, I guess, well, do you think anybody's on the hot seat? Anybody?
I don't want to say hot seat because a lot of these guys, other than a few, it's like just their second year.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna be honest. I think that if La Tech doesn't have an improvement from last year to this year, I think the seat gets a little warm because he was having high expectations coming in, and I know it takes a couple years, and we'll see if the administration at La Tech has the patience for it. But if for some reason all those transfers don't mesh out, and they happen to have a worse record than last year, I think the seat starts to get warm.
I think if FIU has a losing season, you're going to be looking at your boy over there.
Yeah, I would say that, except for it's only year 2, and there's been,
That's a tough
for what
thing
it's
with it.
worth,
Year 2
an
is-
improvement. I would go the other route, and I think if Western has another good year, I think you're going to see either the coordinator or the head coach go elsewhere to a bigger, quote unquote, bigger job.
I got one, Sprouse, for hot seat. Coach Dimmel at UTEP. He's going into his 6th season. His overall record in those 6 seasons, 17 wins and 40 losses. They went 5-7 last year, just missed a bowl game. I think if they don't make it to a bowl game this year, there's a chance that he gets fired.
Hey, to back up a little bit, Bachmeier versus UTEP went 13 for 34 with 93 yards. He did not play the following week.
So then he said, you know what? He's going to get revenge on UTEP. He's like, I'm going to that conference. I'm going to Conference USA. I'm going to whip UTEP's ass. That's where it's going in.
Yeah.
I'm Bach.
Well, I don't know about that. Tip brought up UTEP, and I'd like to just
get in on UTEP. I like UTEP.
I think UTEP is a sneaky good team. They are returning a lot of firepower on both sides of the ball. And Sprouse, you mentioned Gavin Hardison, but Deion Hankins is a very, very good running back. And Tyron Smith is back, their top receiver. He had 71 catches, over 1,000 yards, and 7 touchdowns last year. And then a lot of talent coming back on that defensive side of the ball. And I really like their schedule. I think it sets up nice. Look out for UTEP. Possibly could make a run if they get some key wins there in the middle of their schedule to have a chance at that conference championship game. I think UTEP has a really good season next year.
We before we go to biggest game, and I didn't put this on the outline, so I do apologize. But if you guys looked at the schedule, anybody in Conference USA have any sort of shot at a New Year's Bowl?
I don't. I think Western does, but they have a tough stretch, kind of like right after the
If
beginning of
Western
their
beats
season.
Ohio State, then yeah.
That's
Well,
I
yeah.
was going to say that's their only.
Yeah.
That's their only chance.
There's kind of like with middle, like Bama ain't Miami from last year, okay? Ohio State
Yeah.
ain't Illinois in the Big Ten,
Yeah.
So there are, as much as we like to say, hey, the group of five is just as good, there's 5 or 6 teams that, hey,
They're a
we
little
get
different.
it, okay, we understand, all right? But and Ohio State's one of them. Now they do go to Troy, so they could, if they beat
Can
Troy,
this just
they could
spill
have a
into?
Big
Can this
10
just
win
spill
season.
into the biggest game, and me kick it off?
Go for it, Jeff. You're firing me
Yes,
up already.
sir.
Because-
Jesse, who
because-
you got?
That stretch.
Blue Raiders against
No,
Western Kentucky.
just listen. Hear me out. Hear me out here. Just listen to my logic. All right, listen to my logic.
Oh,
So-
hold on. Western opens up with the South Florida Bulls. They got no shot in that game.
Sprouse is always high in the South Florida Bulls. No, but hear
No,
me out.
I'm
Hear
not.
me out here. Hear me out. You talk about how we talked about how middle goes to Bama and then Mizzou. You get beat up, right? So Western goes to Ohio State. All right, and then they play Troy. You want to talk about 2 of probably the most physical teams in the country out of anybody that you're going to go play, and then on a short week following Troy, you play 100 miles of hate in Bowling Green, Kentucky. I'm just saying that's my biggest game of the conference this year is Middle Tennessee at Western Kentucky after a 2-week stretch. But that's a huge game because everybody's picking Western and I think they are the favorite. But after that 2-week stretch of games,
Jeff, hold on to your hat and your zipper. I'm telling you right now, I actually think that Middle Tennessee beats Western Kentucky because of 100 miles of hate.
I do too.
That is Western Kentucky, as good as they are every year. I'm always going to pick Middle Tennessee because Middle Tennessee can be 1-5, but somehow they'll step up and they will beat Western Kentucky's ass. Hasn't happened, but in a couple years. But I think that I have that circled on my schedule as well. As I think Middle Tennessee upsets Western Kentucky. Does it prevent Western Kentucky going to the championship? I don't think so. It might be their only conference loss, but I agree with you that I think MTSU goes in there and beats them.
And then
it's not my game of the week, though. What'd you say?
I was just going to say, to add to that, if MTSU does win that game, if they take care of business the next 2 weeks at home against Jacksonville State and Louisiana Tech, then you go to Liberty in week 8. And if you win those 4 stretch of games, I mean, we could be talking about MTSU playing in the conference championship.
You want my God's honest opinion on what happens? Middle beats Western, and then they lose to Jacksonville State the next
on a Wednesday night at home in front of 630.
Don't even laugh about it. That's like
because that's what
Coach Stockstill's already marked it on there.
Because that's what we do. Because that's what we do. Because that's what we do. There'll be 600 screaming fans. I'll be one of them.
We'll be in shorts for 6 days for practice, and they're like, "Oh, should we got a hit today?"
You know what'll make it even worse? They'll beat Missouri too.
Oh no, doubt.
They'll be 6-1. It'll be, and everybody's gonna be Middle is back, and then Rich Rod is coming into Murfreesboro. They're eating Domenico's Deli pregame meal.
Won't serve them.
Unbelievable. That
won't serve them. Won't serve them.
Won't serve
them. Hope you like loogie sandwiches.
No, come on, I wouldn't do that. I just wouldn't serve them.
I know you wouldn't. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
That is for sure. Now that's the biggest rivalry in this conference, huh?
Yeah,
1,000%.
I mean, that's already been one of the biggest rivalries in that conference. But with you lose UAB and some of them, I mean, that's to me, those are the 2 teams that are like the 2 that should compete for this conference every single year. But Jesse, you said that's not your game of the. Yes, sir. You're on. Go.
Guys, Tipton already stole my team, but I'm going to take the record. I think that La Tech has the year that everybody's going to be. That's not a group of 5 fans saying, "Wow, these guys are winning a lot of ball games." If you look at the way their schedule is set up, guys, I see them starting out 4-0. I think they go to SMU and win. I really do. I really do. Just because of Hank Bachmeier, he's back. I think Bachmeier is going to be my guy this year. Their offense is going to be outstanding. There's going to be a high scoring offense. I think that they actually will get their first loss in Nebraska. But what's going to happen, the game for La Tech that's going to determine if they're going to make it to the championship or not, it's going to be when they go to Liberty. When they go to Liberty, the winner of Liberty and La Tech faces Western Kentucky in the conference championship, in my opinion.
See, I don't.
It's near the back end of the season too. It's like week 9, so it's going to. I think if La Tech is the team that I think they are, if they're back, if La Tech is back, I think that they can make it to. They may not be, but you never know. Their offense is going to be good, Jeff. It's going to be just like North Texas last year. Y'all are all making fun of me. Y'all are all making fun of me last year, saying North Texas. Not you, Sprouse. You were almost that.
That's right.
But North Texas was a high power offense. I think La Tech is going to be a physical run the ball / play action, throw it over your back, and it's going to be 40 points a game. La Tech. And I think that when they play Liberty, it's going to be another high-scoring affair.
You have a lot riding on Bachmeier, and he, to me, just hasn't proven it yet.
As a Mountain West guy, I mean, I'm surprised. If the guy played at Fresno, if he transferred to Fresno State, you'd be like, Bachmeier going to Fresno State.
Yeah, because Jeff Tedford was his head coach.
Coaching doesn't do anything, Jeff. You already explained that.
Well, I'm gonna disagree with you on account of I don't like their schedule because
I love it.
They
do got to play North Texas, so that is
I mean, so FIU, okay, that's week 0. I think they might win. They'll probably win that game. I think they're going to get smacked by SMU. Northwestern State, that's a win. Then you go North Texas, at Nebraska, at UTEP, home versus Western, at Middle. So you got 3 of the 4 best teams in the conference.
Strange. Whenever you said it, it sounded harder than when I read it.
Well, I guess it like depends on who's playing those teams,
It really depends on what those teams do in the beginning of their schedules. I mean, y'all are all high on
Yeah.
UTEP. I was high on UTEP last year. I consider them being probably a subpar team. Can they be consistent? You already said the coach is on the hot seat. Nebraska, I mean, if I'm going to play any Power 5 team, I'm going to play Nebraska. And then North Texas is like, out of all those teams, I think North Texas might be one of the hardest ones, but they've lost all the receivers last year, I'm pretty sure. I haven't done my research on the American yet, so don't quote me.
Well, they lost their 30-year-old quarterback.
Yeah.
North Texas did. So,
well, La Tech, I mean,
they have a
Freaks
shot
on me now
for
on
sure.
Twitter. I think La Tech is not going to be the team they were last year. I think they're going to be a team that's going to be competing, and they have a chance to get to the championship game. I will state that I think Western Kentucky is the team to beat. It takes a damn blind man and deaf not to know that. But I think that Liberty and La Tech are the second two top teams. Winner of those two games will go to the championship. That's why I got that game circled.
See, I think Western is number one easily, and then I guess I'm agreeing. Middle, UTEP, and Liberty, I think, are the next three, and I think La Tech is trying. I don't think they're quite there yet. Tip, I want to go to you first. Give me your game of the year, Conference USA. What do you got?
I got to go with the obvious one. It's going to be week 9 when Liberty goes to Bowling Green. I mean, if everything kind of plays out how we think it's going to, with me personally, I have Western Kentucky at 1, Liberty at number 2 in the conference. So that game could have a lot of implications, and that could just be a preview of the conference championship game. And we know how difficult it is for teams to beat the same team twice in one season. So that's a big game to watch for whoever wins that game. There is a chance. I mean, let's just say, for example, Western Kentucky blows them out. I mean, there's a chance if Liberty plays against Western Kentucky again in the conference championship game, there's a chance Liberty can win that game and win the conference. So that's the game. I know that's one of the obvious ones on the Conference USA schedule, but both of those teams should be good. I think that's going to be the biggest game.
I think they're all going to probably have 2 losses. So when I talk about Middle, UTEP, and Liberty, I think they're all going to lose to Western and then lose to one of the other. So for me, game of the year, UTEP goes to Murfreesboro November 18th, late. Winner of that game, I think, has to play Western again. And for what it's worth, I think if there was ever a year when somebody beats somebody twice, it's going to be Western in this conference this year. But so I think, UTEP going to Murfreesboro, I think is going to be a huge game. It's going to be cold. It's going to be a deal, in Murfreesboro, nobody's even going to know there's a football game going on. It's going to be one of the biggest games in the history of Murfreesboro. Winner plays for a conference championship. Nobody's even going to know about it, Jeff. Tip. You guys will be there. I may be there. I may make the trek up there. Swag may make the trek over. It'd probably be 30 degrees, a little bit hazy, a little rainy.
Misty. It's going to be one of those misty games.
One of those ones. Cold, wet, but terrible environment, which could favor the Blue Raiders. So
seems to be. And I think UTEP's biggest question mark, Gavin Hardison was really good last year, but he was also very inconsistent. He looked great against Boise and then disappeared against other teams. So I think, they got 4 of their starting offensive line coming back. I think they have a lot of pieces on both sides. Can Hardison be the guy to get him over that hump? And honestly, outside of Western, I think every team has a legitimate quarterback. Can he do it full time? Can he do it every single game? Or which one of these guys is going to be the starter? So, it's going to be interesting.
Well, and we talked about it, but who's beat up the least when it gets to these week 9, week 10 games? Because we know in all of the group of 5, that is the main difference, is the depth. So you lose, if you're middle and you lose one offensive lineman, I mean, next thing you know, you got a walk on or a freshman that's making the trips.
Yeah.
And that's going to potentially have to play. So that's where late in the year, and that's where those early Bama, Ohio State, Nebraska games could hurt, whether you play well or not. You just don't want to get anybody hurt in those games.
Sprouts, just real quick, one game that I'm excited. It's not like this isn't my biggest game, but this is a game that I personally am really excited to watch. not only is it week 0, the first week of college football, and we're all going to be amped up and excited that it's week 0 and that we have college football, but UTEP going to Jacksonville State for Jacksonville State's first game, big conference game, their first home game in Conference USA. I think Rich Rodriguez is going to have that team ready to roll, and they could potentially
They're going to fill up that stadium. I promise
they
you
could
that.
potentially beat
They'll fill
UTEP
it up.
I want
first
to
game.
I just want to plant a seed in everybody's head. I talked to the Swaggy about it a little bit. Jacksonville State is about central from where all 4 of us currently reside. Just put that in your head. Just think about it, wrap your imagination around a week 0, little drive down 65. What is it, just 20? You get on there, 459, something like that. Just think about it. That's all.
It might be a little further for those 2 guys, but I mean, for me and you, it's
About 2 hours. Yeah,
it's not bad. It's not bad.
Yeah,
Maybe 3 for you, 2 for me. So I mean, it's
something
not
to
bad.
think about. But anyway, so we all talked about game. Dark horse. Start with you, Tip. Who's your dark horse? And this is a hard conference because it is very like top half, bottom half, in my opinion. But Tip, who's your dark horse? Just ask you.
Well, Jesse took everything of mine, and he took my team and my dark horse. I mean, I just shouldn't even just everything I say.
I'm just happy that me and you are agreeing on something.
This is
because
interesting.
That makes me want to bet all in on La Tech because
I
your
don't know,
Western
it's just-
Kentucky
Tip's
take from 2
rethinking
years
the
ago
whole
is
thing.
still in the Hall of Fame.
Well, what's La Tech's win total? Is it out for Vegas? What do we
It's
have?
5.5.
Yeah.
It's like 5.5, I think.
It's
Am I wrong?
5.5. So the
Yeah.
5.5. 5.5 over is
You're
minus
crazy.
170.
You are crazy.
5.5 under is plus 140.
It-
The odds. So for them.
Why
to
do you
win-
hate him so much? I'm
for
sorry,
them to
Tip. Why
win the
do you hate
conference-
Bachmeyer so much? I interrupted you, Tip, tonight. Like Jeff's over here, like pointing down. Like
I'm
what-
saying
what-
take the
why?
under. If you're betting that, take the under.
You're crazy. You are crazy.
Look,
you-
the most
I'm gonna
important
tell you right
position
now.
in college football, who is it, Jesse?
Probably the center.
Offensive line as a group. Offensive line. Questions on offense.
I literally
line,
thought you were going to say quarterback, so I'm
No.
actually impressed.
Questions-
I thought you were going to say.
all on the defense. That's just a lot to come together. I don't know if they're going to
transfers
do
coming
it.
in.
I will say, and Tip, I sincerely apologize. I really interrupted the.
Hey, you ruined his whole.
No, you can start over a second. No, their defense is probably.
They got to get better.
So,
That's all I'm saying is they got
I'm
to
sorry,
get better.
Tip, go again.
You're fine. No, you're good. So I was just going to say that Louisiana Tech, their odds to win the Conference USA Championship. It's one of my value picks. Plus 850.
That's good.
That's a good value. And then my second one's MTSU. They're at plus 550. I like that one as well. And then you get a pretty. It goes down pretty steep after that. UTEP is plus 1400 to win the conference.
Plus 1,400?
Yeah, plus 1,400.
Wow.
UTEP. And then New Mexico State plus 1,800. That's a sneaky
I
good
like
one right
that.
there.
Tip, can you, for the novice bettor, me, and the average fan here, can you explain what a plus 1,400 means?
Yes. So the plus 1,400 for UTEP, that would be if you bet $1. We'll keep it simple. If you bet $1, you would, and if UTEP wins Conference USA Championship game, you would win $14 off that $1 bet.
I like a good $1 little bet there.
10 wins you 140.
Yeah. Well, I mean, all right. So that's both. Is that your dark horse too? Then Swag, did you commit to that?
Well, no, I'm not going to just say that that's my dark horse. Tip can take it and run with it. I do think that a lot of Texas team look out for, but my dark horse that I think people are starting to overlook a little bit, maybe not. Looking at my schedule, I'm just going to say it. I have La Tech as a high competitor, but I have Liberty almost running the table this year because of the way their schedule is lined up. Now, granted, Sprouse may read it off and it sounds a little better.
Do it right now.
But I'm talking about, no, I'll do it right now. I got it right here. Bowling Green, week 1, win. New Mexico State, week 2. I think that's a win. At Buffalo, that will be a challenge. That will be a challenge if they can beat Buffalo. we're coasting, boys. We're coasting. Because then you're going to beat FIU, you're going to beat Sam Houston, you're going to beat Jacksonville State, and then you go to MTSU. And by God, if you're undefeated, you're going to MTSU, Rick Stuck still may actually get you. But but you never know. I'm saying win MTSU. Even if you lose at Western Kentucky, this is where it comes in. You have to beat them twice. Western Kentucky, you beat La Tech by game of the week. That's where it comes game of the week. Old Dominion, UMass, and UTEP. I mean, come on, Sprouse. It's that Jamie Chadwell has a schedule there. Even if he can't figure out who his quarterback is, he has a few weeks.
Their win total through Vegas on the over/under is the highest out of all the Conference USA teams.
I think Jamie Chadwell is walking in. Maybe Sprouse.
Eight win team.
Maybe. But
I have
that
8
schedule
wins.
is going to help them tremendously.
That's
They're
fair.
not even playing
Well,
a Power 5 team the whole
they're not.
year.
They're not. Their non-conference is a little.
I know we're
Leaves
anti-Power
a little
5,
bit
but
to
they
be
ain't got
desired.
any of those.
I gotta shout out the chat real quick because we got some good stuff going on.
They're talking shit, aren't they?
No, you fired Zach Green up. He
Let's go, Zach.
Let's go, Swagbear. You're more optimistic than me, but I love it. Kasky says Miller Tuesday. And then we also had Quizzy WV Game Central in there as well. He was from earlier. He was dropping some comments.
I like Liberty. I think Jamie Chow comes in there and makes a statement. That's what I say.
Well, now if there was one team in this conference that I think on a Tuesday or a Wednesday in October or November will have a great crowd and a great home field advantage, it is the Flames of Liberty. So they probably are going to have the best home field advantage out of any of these teams. Western they're going to be good, so they'll have good crowds. You know, I don't know. We'll see about Liberty. I mean, I think it's an 8-win. I think it's a good team. I think it's an 8-win team. Jeff, who's your dark horse? I got one. Y'all are gonna lose it. My dark horse.
Sprouse, the South Florida Bulls are not in Conference USA.
No, but Florida International. No.
No, my dark horse, I talked about it a little bit earlier, and to me, like a dark horse is somebody you don't see necessarily coming. So I'm going with New Mexico State, Jerry Kill, Diego Pavia. I think that if there's a team that can get hot, it's them. They have got to figure out on defense how to stop some guys. If they can get that points per game, giving up down, I think they're going to score a lot of points, especially in this conference. I think they got a lot of talent coming back. I think everywhere that Coach Kill has gone, their offensive line has been very, very good. And they got 3 starters returning on the offensive line for this team. I think sky's the limit for New Mexico State. Look out for them. What did you say, Tip? Plus 1,800? That's a good value pick.
Right, yeah. New Mexico State plus 1,800 to win the conference.
Yep, I take it. I throw a little scratch on it.
I am in shock that we have completely disrespected the Bearcats with a K of Sam Houston on this episode. Okay? This is a team that in 2020, COVID year, spring FCS season, went undefeated and won a national championship, including victories against North Dakota State, South Dakota State, and a team called James Madison. 2021, this team goes undefeated until they lost to the eventual national champion Montana State, and they lost to them in the semifinal. And then they redshirted a bunch of their best players last year to prepare for the jump to Conference USA. So this team, while they went, I think they went 6-5 or something of that nature last year, they sat a bunch of guys to prepare for this. And they knew 4 idiots were going to get on the Group of 5 Guys podcast and not even mention their name this whole time and talk about Rich Rodriguez being the biggest chance at a team to upset. Now, I'm not sitting here saying Sam Houston is going to win this conference. I'm not sitting here saying they're going to be playing, for a imaginable bowl invitation. But I am saying they ain't going to be some easy win for all of these teams. All these teams we're sitting here talking about, Middle Tennessee, UTEP, Liberty, La Tech, FIU. Look out. Sam Houston is going to be a good team. Both of these teams.
I'm going to look away. They're going to be probably 3 or 4 wins probably. It's a jump, Sprouse. FCS to FBS is a little bit of a jump.
But But to Sprouse's point, they have a good coach, Casey
Yeah.
Keller. He's
He
won
has
two
won two.
FCS national championships at 2 different schools.
You know who else did that?
Who's the only other current coach? I know you know.
Nicholas Siebel.
Well,
No, Sam Houston, I think they're going to be a great team in a couple of years, Sprouse, but I just do not see them. Granted, they are coming into probably one of the weaker conferences.
Well, here's the deal.
in the Group of Five.
They're coming into a conference where 3 of the 9 teams are also and then next year I think you're getting Kennesaw State too. So you're half
That's
the
true.
conference is FCS. From a year ago. Now, I was sitting here last year on the Sun Belt talking about James Madison having an FCS roster, and they came in and just whipped one of the best.
For some reason, I feel like all 4 of us were even saying like we were worried about MTSU going to James Madison. Like that's a horrible game. For some reason we didn't know they're gonna be that good, but we knew they're gonna be good. I'm not feeling it. I'm just not feeling it for Sam Houston. I don't think they're gonna be that like 8, 9, 10.
No, I don't see that. I don't see that, but I see 5 or 6. I see 4 wins, and then I see a potential 5th that ruins one of these teams' seasons. That's what
Possibly.
I see.
I think it takes a good speech in the locker room to get a big win. Just takes one good speech.
One good speech.
They have a
Play your
great
tails
defense.
off.
The biggest question mark is the offense able to score enough points?
Yeah,
And that's the biggest thing.
yeah, and there's top returning quarterback Keegan Shoemaker was 40% last year as far as completion percentage, and that's at that level. Granted,
His last name is Shoemaker.
Yeah, they got guys coming back.
They get 5 wins.
They got Grant Gunnell from North
Yes,
Texas
they do.
transferring over. So it's going to be interesting to see, who ends up taking the starting job there. I do like their running back, Zach Herbachik. He's a speedster. If he gets in the open space, you're not catching him. But their offense just did not have great production last year. Interested to see if maybe all those redshirted guys did make a huge difference. Now, if they can put up points, I think their defense has a chance to be top 3 in the conference. I really do, led by their 2 starting linebackers. But it's a jump. It's a big jump, and I don't think comparing them to James Madison is. They're not as complete of a team as James Madison was.
No, they're not. They're not.
jump.
And James Madison came in with a ready-made offensive line
and
a
then got the
quarterback
transferring in.
Well, and with Grant Gunnell. So, okay, I remember this is another guy when Jesse was high on North Texas last year. He talked about Grant Gunnell, who didn't end up winning the job because Austin 29 years old, won the job. Did y'all know? And I didn't know this until like this week. Grant Gunnell was an All-American in high school, committed to Kevin Sumlin at Texas A&M. And then Sumlin got fired and went to Arizona. Gunnell went to Arizona, and then Sumlin left Arizona. Gunnell transferred to Memphis, I believe.
Correct.
And then he got beat by Seth Hennigan, who is one of the best quarterbacks in the Group of 5. Then he goes to North Texas and gets beat. I mean, hold on a second. You didn't talk about all of this, did you? I don't think so.
You look it up.
Well, but anyway, he gets beat by Austin on, and so while I don't like transferring every single year by any means, he did have an interesting situation at every place, and he's been beat out by quarterbacks that have had fantastic seasons.
Yeah.
So maybe he's a Texas guy. He's a Houston, Texas guy out of high school. So maybe, close to home. I don't know. Maybe he's the guy.
I'm going to admit my wrongs here. You mean tell me he's at Sam Houston right now?
Correct.
Oh shit. I missed that part. Yeah, no, he's
add you another win.
Because I mean, no joking aside. No, I remember I did all that research last year when he was at North Texas, and I thought he was going to be that guy, like you just said. So now he's at Sam Houston. Now there must be something in the porridge that's not connecting in college. I'm not sure, but the guy was a star back in high school and had all the credentials. So maybe he can add another 1 or 2 more wins. I am excited to see Sam Houston play in the Conference USA. I did that little tweet where I had most competitive conferences, and I'm starting to realize that I had CUSA at number 10. They might be one of the most competitive because you have so many variables going on, and anybody can beat anybody. Sam Houston State, they probably will stick
You
up
were
on
serious about that list? I thought you just
no, that was dead. That was dead ass serious. That was dead ass serious. There ain't nothing I do that's joke.
Sam Houston has a tough schedule.
They
at the
do. Their
beginning.
front half
That's-
of the schedule is brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do. So that's interesting. All right, boys, it's time. It is time to predict the championship game and the winner of the championship game. Feel like we're all going to have at least one of the two teams the same, but Jesse Swagbear Grisham, you're up first. No. Actually, no. I started with you every week last year.
Why don't you start, Sprouse?
Western
For real, you come off look like the smartest one. You let all three of us make a decision, and you piggyback off of us. Why don't you go first, big shot?
Western Kentucky's beating Middle Tennessee after Middle Tennessee beats UTEP at the end of the year.
So does Western?
That's what
so
a host.
Western
You know,
beats
that's
them
what a
twice?
host. Have you ever watched or listened to a radio show before? The host delegates to everybody else and lets them say their stuff, and then just kind of wraps it up. So that's what I do.
Sprouse, does West?
hey.
So Western beats Middle twice.
Yes, Western beats whoever twice. I think what honestly, Western. I'm interested to see what they do at Troy. That's a huge
Massive.
that is a gigantic group of 5 game. Now, I haven't really dug into Troy's schedule yet. The problem with Western is they play at Ohio State. So even if they run the table other than that game, they could get beat pretty bad by Ohio State. Now, maybe they put up some points. I could see that game being a 49-28 kind of game, something like that. But yeah, I think they may lose to Ohio State and Troy, and then I think they may run the table the rest of the way. Western Kentucky, and then they're going to get – what bowl game are they going to get with that? Hawaii, Bahamas, New Orleans. But that's who I got. No, Swag, I want to go to you last. Can I go to you last this year? I think we might be having some technical difficulties. I don't know. I'm going to keep going.
No, you're
Tip,
good.
I'm going to go with you because last year – I would go to Jesse, and then Tip would have something to say, and then Jesse would want to change his opinion. I'm going to go Tipton this year and let Jesse hear that opinion first so he doesn't have to change his mind. He can just go with it. Tyler Tipton. Who's playing? Who's winning?
Well, I hate that I'm going right after you because I agree with you with the championship game. I think it's going to be Western Kentucky against MTSU. And I think Western Kentucky wins the whole thing. I'm looking at Liberty because Liberty's going to be right up there. I think Liberty finishes 3rd in the conference. I'm just sitting there looking. I think the 9 wins of the over under in Vegas. I don't know. That's a lot of hype with Jamie Chadwell coming in, and the more we've been talking about it with Jamie Chadwell and the uncertainty at the quarterback position right now up at Liberty, there is a chance that Liberty could struggle this season. So I'm going to go with the Western Kentucky versus MTSU conference championship game. Western Kentucky wins the conference. Murph, who you got?
I'm having some camera issues right now, but you can hear my audio. So,
I don't think Sprouse was talking. Were you trying to talk, Sprouse?
I was. I said.
Oh,
Swag.
I think you're muted. Okay, sorry for that. No, you were definitely not talking.
Oh.
No, let me go for. Let's let Jeff go last. I want Jeff to go last.
Okay.
I want to picture this nice little setting I have for the Conference USA. You're talking about alumni bias to a T, guys. Come on, guys. This is a podcast. We cannot show bietism. All right, bietism is a terrible word.
That's a good word.
That is atrocious of 2023. Bietism.
Yeah, well, your bietism is ridiculous for the Blue Raiders. Are they going to be good? Yes, they're going to do the same. Like, I love Rick Stockstill. 18 years coaching at Middle Tennessee State. Most consistent coach probably in college football, right behind Nick Saban. The guy is consistent as all get out. He's probably going to win 7 or 8 games. He's going to go to a bowl game, probably going to win it, and then they're going to bring it home MTSU. We're going to get those new facilities updated by 2027. Now, here's the deal. I think that La Tech is going to have that year that everybody is going to be saying, holy hell, these guys, they're back. They're going to be getting about 8 wins. But Liberty will beat La Tech. Liberty will meet Western Kentucky in the championship game. Who wins that game? I'm saying Jamie Chadwell comes to Conference USA and says, talk to me, son. Liberty takes it all home. They make a statement. They said, hey, I'm tired. Liberty's going to probably be in Conference USA for 3 years, and they're going to try to get out. They're going to be in Sunbelt here within 2 or 3 years. Liberty wins Conference USA year 1. Western Kentucky does not live up to the hype.
Wow.
All right, Jeff?
Well, I'm still having video issues. You won't be able to see me, but I'm going to go with Western Kentucky and UTEP in the championship game. And I think Western Kentucky beats UTEP in the championship game. That's what I'm going with.
So 3 Westerns and a Liberty.
Well, for clarity, we have 2 Westerns versus MTSU.
Yeah.
A Western versus Liberty with a Liberty upside. And then I like the UTEP. Middle Tennessee, it's just, God bless. It's just, they're not meant to win conference titles. They're meant to beat Power 5 teams, win 8 games, go to a bowl game, win, and then keep practicing in a gymnasium.
Jeff, you are near Murfreesboro. Do you have any updates on the facility?
They got to get those facilities up.
My
Jeff.
God.
I'm getting annoyed with this.
I'm watching it. Everybody's posting their summer workout videos, and then I watch middle, and I don't think the average person can know just by looking. But I noticed they got makeshift, power clean platforms. Looks like they're doing workouts on a piece of plywood with a horse stall mat over it.
Sprouse, I can't wait for the 30 for 30 come out about Rick Stockstill winning games with players practicing in a barn. Like it's gonna be something amazing compared to what these other teams have. And this facility upgrade that's been going on for 15 years.
Yeah, it's gonna be amazing. Anyway, hey, that's all we got for you guys tonight. Next week we got Maction preview. Talk about a competitive conference where could go anyway. We got that coming up next week. Later in this week, we got an interview dropping with UAB's special teams coordinator and DB coach Kenneth Gilstrap. Some really good insight on UAB, on how Coach Trent Dilfer's running things in Birmingham, and the move to the new conference. We get Strap's thoughts on NIL, transfer portal, all that good stuff. So really good interview there. If you guys like the show, make sure you follow us on all the social media platforms at Group of Five Guys. Go to YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your best podcast. Download, subscribe, share, like, give us a 5-star rating and review. Tell your family and friends all about us. Or you can go to groupof5guys.com and get you some swag. Mac fans need you to call the hotline, 615-900-4286. Who's playing for the championship? Who's winning? Who's a dark horse? We'll see y'all next week.